Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread. First card we are starting our day off with today. This is hilarious because if you caught our card of the day and you went over to see what the bottom of the deck is, this is kind of spoiling the surprise. But we love seeing this today because we're seeing the world here moving right now in a state of flow, working to find that flow state for yourself, either trying to manifest that for yourself today or feeling it to a certain capacity. We have been seeing a lot of difficulty coming through over the last few days in terms of pitfalls, milestones. We had that very tricky tower energy come up in the deck just a couple days ago, but we see that this is a moment that you're allowing yourself to adjust, to adapt, to flow in the way that you need to flow, and we're seeing that this is productive in terms of this effort. Second card that we are starting our day off with today is... we love this. Why are you coming into flow, my friends? You are coming into flow because you are allowing yourself to surrender to the transformations that are occurring right now in your current life. This is that feeling, as we said, things that are closing out, cycles that are closing out. But again, allowing this degree and capacity to adapt, allowing this to also shape and frame your mindset as you go forward at this point. This is giving a lot of energy of not necessarily holding on to anything that you feel is limiting you or confining you, or allowing this point of easement and adaptability that is coming through in the cards right now, giving this point of surrender that is leading to deeper transformation at this time. And why are you doing that? Because you recognize that when you're in that space, it's only when you're in that sense of release that you can really dance, that you can really find yourself easily navigating what is occurring or what is happening around you. It's actually creating a deeper level of peace right now and a deeper ability to orient yourself to the changes that are currently occurring in and around your life at this time. Center card for today's spread is, we've got coming through right now our 5 of Swords. Now, this is very interesting energy to be seeing as it relates to some of this death card energy, because what we're allowing in what we are really seeing here is not the fact that there are some circumstances or situations from the past that still feel like there is this need to address, that there are kind of things that you're still holding on to. But what we're really appreciating about this is the moment that you are ready to let those go. You're ready to release that energy. You're ready to just let yourself build that sense of closure for yourself around some circumstances and situations that you may be currently still feeling are open-ending or feeling like you didn't necessarily have that full resolution on. This is allowing yourself the degree and ability to build closure for yourself at this time, which is allowing you to come into this deeper sense of flow state that we are seeing today. Beautiful energy that we are seeing in the card so far. May I please have the 4th card for our reading for today? 4th card for today, we've got 2 cards coming out right now, and we are beautiful cards because what we see here is Queen of Cups in her upright with the Hangman. Now, this is that point that we're really identifying, is showing some of the changes in your own thinking, in your own process right now, that is allowing you this point of release. For feminine and masculine energy, this will feel a bit different, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, there is a moment that you are coming into understanding the circumstances that you find yourself in at this time. What we appreciate about the Hangman is it's not necessarily the fact that you aren't going through some hurdles, that you aren't going through some difficulties. The Hangman really speaks to us about the fact that you are looking at those circumstances and situations and you are finding your point of tolerance. You are finding the level and degree that you feel that you can inhabit as it relates to the difficulty of some situations or circumstances. But at the same time, coming into a point of commitment, even around circumstances or situations that may be presenting some challenges because of the insight or the gift that they are able to provide whilst doing so. This is really more of that commitment energy that we saw in that 10 of Wands that we received just a few days ago for our card of the day. It's not the necessarily fact that everything is going to be easy, but it is a question right now in terms of what you are willing to bear, what difficulty you are willing to undergo or experience experience for the sake of what you are getting back in the experiences themselves. And this moment, especially for feminine energy right now, is what is allowing you a degree of emotional balance at this time. Feminine energy is looking at their emotions very objectively at this time, allowing this to be a point of understanding situations that may have proved too difficult, that you may have been coming into that release energy with this Five of Swords, versus those circumstances and situations that you are continuing to commit your time, energy, and effort in because you are willing to allow yourself some degree of burden if it means that you are getting it something of equal or greater value back in kind. This is what's allowing some of that change of perception. For feminine right now, this could be a lot of emotional work that you're doing in terms of assessing your own emotions, to ask yourself if you're seeing this point of balance versus the places or spaces that you may have to release because you're not seeing this type of balance in them. This is where we're seeing a lot of this change energy coming through right now for feminine, but it is creating a sense of balance even through the change, which could be a lot of change in terms of the mental or emotional perspective right now. This is also very much in alignment. You'll recall just a few days ago, we saw the masculine energy was coming up in that King of Cups energy. So this is the feminine energy reflecting back some of that balanced masculine energy that they may be working to manifest or working in combination with at this time. Seeing those places that they are getting that equal support that is furthering their own commitment to difficult situations or circumstances, but not crumbling under those difficulties, but rather finding a flow state to inhabit even as you are experiencing them, which is what we deeply appreciate seeing. While for masculine energy right now, what we're really identifying is you yourself are also allowing this point of transformation to occur right now. This is requiring some revisitation of past circumstances or situations, and this could be a moment for the masculine energy that you yourself are also putting a lot of care and attention to, assessing whether these experiences are showing that equalitude in terms of the difficulty that they are causing or creating within you right now versus what you are getting back, all to the goal of either manifesting right now balanced feminine emotional energy, or working to manifest this type of energy towards yourself in some degree or fashion. This is either a collaborative process right now, masculine energy, where you are doing a lot of this assessment in combination with the feminine energy that you recognize has or is able to maintain the same degree or level of emotional balance, or masculine energy, this is potentially you going through an experience right now of assessing the feminine energy to determine if you feel there is that degree of emotional balance, to determine whether you are going to go back to situations from the past or whether you're going to kind of hold your place right now as you allow some of these changes to occur. This could even be some patience right now or waiting right now on the feminine energy that we're effectively experiencing as you kind of allow this feminine energy to come into a state of emotional balance. Fifth card for today's spread right now is, what do we got here? Fifth card for our spread for today is, as all the cards drop, we have here the Page of Wands in its reversal. Very interesting because we're seeing here that there is some differentiation between where we see masculine and feminine energy right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, one of the things that we're really seeing is allowing this to be almost a point of closure, allowing some cycles to close out, allowing some of this transformation energy to come in for the feminine right now. And seeing specifically that feminine is working right now on maintaining and holding some sense of flow state with the focus right now. It's not the fact that the feminine isn't willing to go through any circumstances or experiences that are creating or causing a bit of challenge or a degree of difficulty at this time. Feminine is really assessing whether they are getting back that gift in kind, whether those energies are specifically places or spaces that are reciprocating in terms of whether they're getting back versus a difficulty that they may create. And this is what's allowing the feminine energy to look at their own emotions, to build points of closure on some cycles from the past. And some of these cycles from the past that the feminine may be closing out on that's helping them build this degree of closure has to do around the realms of communication. Feminine energy, we have been seeing very much over the last few days, has been putting a lot of care and consideration into the communication that they're receiving or the communication that they're not receiving in order to better assess how to move forward from this time. And this is the moment the feminine energy may be looking at situations or circumstances where communication isn't coming through, or it's coming through in a way that feels negative or not helpful to the feminine energy. Feminine energy is not in the space or place right now where they feel like having any of this difficult issues coming to the surface right now, unless they are going to be productive spaces. Because we see here that the feminine is putting a lot of care and concentration right now on maintaining a degree of emotional balance for themselves at this moment. Feminine energy is even willing to go through some experiences or challenging, difficult circumstances as long as they're able to maintain and find. This could be actually the gift that the feminine energy is finding in these experiences. They're discovering their own ability to find that balanced emotional state, even through some hurdles and challenges at this time. And this is what's allowing the feminine energy to create a sense of closure and transformation, even around experiences from the past that may have been revisiting with some of that tower energy we saw over the last few days, or going through right now and addressing the circumstances that they find themselves in right now as it relates to some of the masculine energy, to determine where they want to put their communication towards those places and spaces where they don't feel it is productive or necessary or helpful at this time. While for masculine energy, we're seeing that you yourself may also be in this moment where you are putting a lot of care or degree into putting this assessment into circumstances or situations. We do see here with the masculine energy that there may be some limitations in terms of communication right now. This could have to do with practical hurdles that you're currently experiencing at this time, or something that you are effectively holding back in terms of communicating right now, because this is where we see the masculine energy being in right now. There's something about holding back their own communication at this time that is the hangman energy. This is the challenge for the masculine, because masculine energy right now is feeling like they're coming into some point of balance for themselves. They're receiving some kind of insight for themselves at this moment, specifically by having this point of orientation in terms of allowing this to be a degree or capacity of finding this level of balance for themselves at this time, with a lot of care and attention right now towards feminine energy to really assess and analyze whether this energy feels like it's coming from a point of emotional balance, or if these are circumstances and situations from the past that they want to revisit, or if they're allowing these cycles to close to maintain this point of emotional balance for themselves as they continue forward from this point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our world energy in combination with our death card energy. So for both masculine and feminine energy, we are seeing that this is a beautiful moment, because we're seeing here that there are cycles that are closing out. You're allowing this point of transformation to occur. You're allowing yourself to have this point of balance that is being reached at this time. For both masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to, may I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 9 of Pentacles in its reversal. What we like about this for both masculine and feminine energy at this moment is this is a moment that is really asking you to ask yourself what feels comfortable for you in this moment versus what is creating circumstantial or situational disruption points at this time. Feminine and masculine energy are keeping a lot of attention right now on what is not working in their life to be able to create that sense of comfort. And this could even be a lot of addressing right now of circumstances and situations based in your own home and your own environment to allow this to come into a state of easement. This is also what we're seeing right now is helping right now with this point of a flow state that we're seeing, this point of transformation that is occurring right now as feminine and masculine energy continue to work on balance. So this could be speaking right now to a lot of addressing to situations or circumstances in terms of finding, like, this is giving a lot of energy about like putting more care and attention and particular detail right now into the space and the immediate environment that you inhabit at this time, to potentially even look at circumstances and situations that you may want to change or adapt or adjust at this time, so that you can continue to facilitate this flow state for yourself, even as you're allowing some cycles and closure points as you continue forward from this point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our death card in combination with our 5 of Swords. This is that moment that we really see that is beautiful, because what we're allowing to happen right now with this 5 of Swords is this is the point of allowing these points of closure to come through, particularly as it relates to circumstances and situations from the past. This is that point of allowing some changes in perspective to occur that are allowing this point of release or some transformational energy to come through as it relates to your own experience in these situations to build closure for yourself at this moment for both masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Chariot energy in its reversal. This is that moment of really putting a lot of care and optics right now into what you feel is working versus what is not working. And not only do we see that this is putting a lot of care and attention right now into your immediate environment, but we also see this is speaking a lot to some of that Venus in retrograde energy that we've been identifying over the last few days to really assess and analyze whether you feel like the energy that is working around you right now is moving in that shared purpose, in that shared unified goal, or having to address any points of disruption, spaces or places where you're feeling some blockages as it relates to the plan or the path going forward. For feminine and masculine energy right now, we see that this is where we're seeing this closing out of certain cycles that is coming through. Because what we're really seeing here is the change of perception or optics that are being experienced at this time have to do with the fact that you're looking at some energy and just effectively assuming and just deciding for yourself at this time that you don't necessarily see that capacity of unified growth or that path going forward. This is that point that you're allowing these cycles to close, because for feminine and masculine energy right now, you are really working on having that unified goal, that shared purpose, and that is what's creating the clearance point. This understanding is what is allowing some of this transformation energy to occur right now. Identifying if the energy around you is unified in terms of where you are trying to go, what you are trying to do, the plans and path moving forward, having that point of clarity. And if it doesn't have that point of clarity, we see that both for the masculine and feminine right now, this is that point of just building the closure from within the self at this time as you proceed forward from this point. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Five of Swords in combination with our Hangman, in combination with our Queen of Cups energy. So for masculine and feminine energy, this will feel a bit different, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, this is a moment of maintaining and preserving your own sense of emotional balance at this time. This is what's allowing the feminine energy to determine the path that they want to move forward on right now, the places and spaces where they're even willing to undergo any sort of degree or difficulty, experiencing the fact that those same spaces and places, even though they may present their own unique challenges, are providing feminine energy an ability to maintain that point of emotional balance, the flow state that we're seeing that is coming through so much with this World card. This is what the feminine energy is preserving and valuing at this time. And this is what's also allowing them to have new optics as it relates to situations and circumstances from the past in order to maintain and continue to have closure that they're either creating for themselves at this moment, or that they're allowing themselves to look at situations from the past with these new optics. While for masculine energy right now, what we're really identifying is this is a moment that you yourself are also working right now, either in collaboration with or working to manifest balanced emotional feminine energy at this time. And for the masculine, we're seeing that this is a point that you could be feeling like there is some point of blockage here, because the masculine energy is in a point where they're either not necessarily feeling like they can communicate fully, or they're not necessarily sure how to communicate right now towards a feminine energy that you may identify is in this point of emotional balance. But we do see here with the Five of Swords in combination with our Hangman here for the masculine energy, this could be feeling like a little bit more of a latent movement in terms of allowing yourself some time, not to necessarily come forward in communication, but to allow yourself this point or degree of stillness to be able to determine how you want to communicate or what you want to communicate going forward. Potentially, again, working in union right now with a balanced feminine energy that is lending you support, even as you're at a point where communication is either like practically or emotionally stilted for you at this time, or working to manifest towards yourself right now, or moving back towards a feminine energy that you recognize is in this point of emotional balance, but potentially not necessarily knowing the how or the degree to what to communicate to be able to come back into contact with this energy. Continuing to get clarification on these two cards, may I please have the card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Pentacles. So what did I say about holding back? Guys, we are in the Venus in retrograde cycle. We are in the Venus in retrograde cycle, and so this is what we're seeing. Everybody is holding some things very close to the chest, even for the energy that is in union right now. For feminine and masculine energy, if you are in partnership right now, this is a moment of really working to preserve and hold tight to the things that you value, to the things that you find important, to the things that you have a care and degree to right now. For feminine energy, some of this is feeling like you are getting very protective, not only around your own emotional sense of balance, but what you value and what is potentially important to you at this time. We do see here that for feminine energy, this is requiring a point of addressing, potentially looking back at past circumstances or situations. And for feminine energy, this could be feeling like a bit of a struggle point at this time. This could be some of the difficulty that the feminine energy is experiencing at this point, because we're seeing for the feminine energy right now that while you're moving from a state of emotional balance, you're also working with a deep sense of protectiveness and security. Feminine energy is working right now not only to maintain their own emotional balance at this time, but to hold on to the things that they truly value and care about at this moment, to allow themselves this point of transformation as they continue in this flow state, or working to manifest this flow state for yourselves at this time. While for masculine energy right now, what we're really seeing is this is a moment that you yourself are potentially feeling a lot of holding back at this time. Masculine energy, we're seeing here that there's something about what you are trying to communicate at this time that we're seeing that there is some sort of blockage. This is a lot more of that internal energy that we're seeing around the masculine right now. The masculine energy could even be going through the process of some deep transformations right now and working to maintain a degree or level of flow state at this time as you're experiencing them. There could even be a moment right now for the masculine energy where you're not even fully communicating this transformation that's occurring right now towards the feminine energy, because we do see here that while the masculine energy is going through some of these transformations, having some assessment around the energy that's around them at this time, having this point of consideration on past experiences, you are feeling a bit more stuck. You are feeling there is this moment right now that feels like it's a point of difficulty because you're having to bear some burden, but also getting some deeper sense of enlightenment in the process of it, but potentially one that you don't feel like you can necessarily communicate as fully or as articulately as you might desire right now towards a feminine energy. Even for the masculine energy right now that is in partnership, you may be getting a lot of support right now from a balanced feminine that is helping you through this at this time with a shared sense of purpose in terms of valuing what is important to you and holding on to that securely at this time. While for the other part of the masculine collective, what we're really seeing here at this moment is this is a moment that if you're not in partnership masculine, what we're seeing is this is a moment that could be feeling very difficult because we see that you're going through a lot of transformation. You're taking a lot of time for yourself. You're going through difficult situations that are potentially changing your own mindset or your own sense of perspective on things. And this is that moment that we see as difficult because while we see that you may be working to manifest or you have some focus on a balanced feminine energy right now that's in a point of emotional balance, you're also feeling to a certain degree that you can't necessarily communicate to them to the full extent that you would desire. We see here that this is that moment that you are holding back, either because you feel like that feminine energy would not be open to what you are trying to articulate, or that there's a difficulty in being able to express what it is that you're trying to articulate at this point to this feminine energy that is creating this sense of holding in place, of stillness, as you try to determine what to do next. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Cups energy in combination with Page of Wands. I'm not surprised to see this combination right now. We're in the Venus in retrograde. So what are we seeing here right now? We've got feminine energy. Feminine energy is taking a lot of this time right now just to enjoy the fact that they're in this point of emotional balance. Feminine energy, we've been seeing it in the cards over the last few days. Feminine energy has been doing a lot of work on the self at this time. Feminine energy's main priority right now is building a sense of emotional regulation, having that point of observation on what they're feeling, moving with a state of intentionality in expressing their emotionality versus the spaces and places that they don't feel that they can do that. That is what is allowing some of this transformation energy to come. Feminine energy is like rolling with any of the changes going on right now in their life, allowing it to be a point of surrender to the point of flow state. coming into a point of easement and adaptability, but also maintaining a degree of emotional composure in the wake of it. Even with some combination, and even for the masculine energy right now that is potentially in union with the feminine, feeling to a certain degree or capacity that the masculine energy is either limited and blocked from communicating right now in practical ways, or the fact that the feminine energy that is not in union or in partnership right now may be looking towards masculine energy and having this point of consideration and renewed concentration in terms of allowing things to close out, particularly around the fact that feminine energy is observing either communication that feels like it's only coming from a negative place or communication that's just not productive in any way, shape, or form. Feminine energy is potentially experiencing this, and they're not letting themselves be adjusted or swayed by it. They're just working to keep their emotional balance throughout it. While for masculine energy right now, this is a moment that, again, you are either working in partnership right now with a feminine energy, and for some reason or through some difficulty, you may not necessarily feel that you can communicate as fully towards feminine energy at this time. But again, even at the same time, you're still feeling that emotional support from the feminine in the process of you going through this experience for yourself in this moment. While for the energy of masculine that is not in partnership, this is going to feel a lot more difficult, because what we're really seeing right now is the masculine energy could be at a point right now where they may be having a lot of care and consideration, either working to manifest or even potentially trying to communicate with a feminine energy that they recognize is able to maintain this degree of emotional balance, even through deep, difficult transformation processes. But masculine energy is either feeling like that feminine energy is not receptive to what they're trying to communicate at this time, or masculine energy does not know what to say or how to effectively communicate with this energy, even while experiencing the fact that they recognize and see that they're at a point of emotional balance at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 8 of Cups. We love seeing this card in its upright, because here's the thing. This is what is very lovely to see, and we did pull this card in our card of the day just a few days ago. Masculine and feminine energy are committed right now, not letting anything stand in their path. For the masculine and the feminine energy right now that is in partnership or working in union, this is a moment that this is a simultaneous effort right now. This is a point of observation that both masculine and feminine are taking at this moment to observe the situations and circumstances that just feel like they're creating walls, just feel like they're creating hurdles. Masculine and feminine energy are having this mutual point of observation here, and they're committing forward on their path away from anything that they feel is causing too much of a blockage. For the masculine and feminine energy right now, for the masculine energy that's working to do this, this could even be causing some difficulties as it relates to communicating at this time. But what we really see here is they're feeling the emotional support from feminine energy, even through their own ability to communicate or articulate how they're going through this process together at this time. While for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in partnership, this is going to feel very different. Because for feminine energy right now, feminine energy is very deeply committed to situations and circumstances that allow them that degree of emotional security, emotional support. Feminine is either creating this for themselves at this moment or receiving it from the energy that's around them at this time. And that's what's allowing the feminine energy not necessarily to want to communicate to anyone that they're feeling is not coming forward in a positive or productive way. They're just looking at any unhelpful or non-existing communication as the blockage point, as the blocker. And feminine energy is moving away from those circumstances in order to continue to maintain their own emotional balance, with a focus right now on this world energy as they proceed forward from this point, even recognizing that this is some of that change that we're seeing. While for the masculine energy right now that is not in partnership, this could also be feeling like a point of release that is occurring, because while we are seeing here that there is some circumstance or situation that you're working on potentially wanting to communicate or even trying to communicate with the feminine energy, you may be feeling limited or blocked to a certain degree as to what you're trying to communicate or the way that you're trying to communicate. And this is that moment that you are potentially moving away from it, because you're experiencing the fact that there is this blockage here. There is this hurdle. This is a feminine energy that's holding up strong boundaries to a certain extent and only willing to accept certain communication at this time. For masculine energy that's in partnership, this is just feeling that emotional support as you go through some circumstances that are hard for you to articulate or fully communicate upon at this time. But you're feeling that unified commitment as you proceed forward from this point. While for the masculine energy not in partnership, this could be some of that letting go process. This is why you're not necessarily communicating in the way that you may desire right now, because this is a point that you may need to take for internal work right now, to ask yourself what changes or adjustments you may need to make moving forward right now to correct for any of the imbalances in communication that may be occurring between you and trying to get in communication with or trying to manifest balanced emotional feminine energy at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 9 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Chariot card in its reversal. This is that point that's allowing for some of these changes to occur. Because what we're really seeing here, specifically with these cards coming into play, is for both masculine and feminine energy right now, there are some feelings that need to be addressed around the tangible experience that you're currently having in your current environment, and also addressing any blockages you are feeling in terms of your plan and path moving forward at this time. One of the things that we have identified over the last few days with some of this Venus in retrograde energy is there's been a lot of care and concentration that is being paid to looking at the partnership and energy that's around you at this time, to really ask yourself if you are oriented on the same path, on the same goal, or if there is a point of misalignment that needs to be addressed. And some of this may have to do with practical issues around some of this energy, having to either work right now to address practical hurdles at this time, or potentially moving away from certain situations or circumstances because you're seeing that on some practical level, some of this energy is not in alignment to you at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Sun card. What we love about this is showing a lot of this energy towards allowing change to occur while also maintaining a similar state of balance. Why do we see that right now? Because while there may be an identification point between what is not working, what has not been feeling comfortable for you at this time, what may require adjustment or even moving away from, we see that the direction that you're trying to move towards right now is your joy, is your positivity, is your keeping a bright and positive outlook as you go forward. And this is that moment that both feminine and masculine energy are putting a lot of this practice into play, looking with a deep focus on what feels right, on what feels good, on what feels positive for them, to be able to identify anything that could allow. And for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership, this is equal work that you're currently doing to assess any of the situations that are creating any hurdles or difficulties or drawbacks at this moment, with a positive sense of through a sense of positivity, even through trying circumstances, and unifying that sense of positivity will help you navigate, adjust, change as necessary to keep and maintain that positive outlook, even in the face of circumstances that are creating some difficulty. That's some of that Tower energy that we saw just a few days ago. While for the masculine and feminine energy, that is not in partnership right now. This is some of that Venus in retrograde coming into play, because what we're really seeing right now for partnership is both masculine and feminine energy right now are looking right now at the partnership energy that's around them to assess and to ascertain whether those circumstances or situations are causing too many practical hurdles, causing too many practical difficulties, and all for the sake of either shedding them and moving away from them or allowing a point of adjustment. But the focus right now is on one's own sense of positivity, on one's own sense of keeping that bright, optimistic outlook in terms of what you are striving to move towards at this time. This is what's allowing this sense of transformation, but also a flow state to come into play at this time. And this is also what's allowing potentially some things to be moved away from at this moment, if it hasn't been able to be ascertained or assessed, to be able to come into something that feels comfortable, but instead is causing too many difficulties. What we're really seeing here is some of this process of letting go has to do with the fact of maybe potentially even ascertaining right now for some energy that there's something here that doesn't feel like it has a productive path forward, nor does it feel comfortable in the immediate present space. But this is why you're allowing it to be shed, because you're building and moving to that space of optimism, even in the wake of ascertaining that. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Chariot energy in its reversal in combination with our Four of Pentacles energy. So for masculine and feminine energy, what we really appreciate, these energies are in union to a certain extent, because what we do see here is there's a lot of care and concentration that's being paid to any hurdles as it relates to the unified energy that's around you at this time. There is this sense right now of moving or keeping a lot of things close to your chest, working from a state of protectiveness in terms of recognizing what it is that you hold dear, what it is you value, and what might need some correction or adjustment as you proceed forward from this point, to be able to continue to work in this space that you can hold these things dear, that you can continue to move in this fashion of power and presence and security. But also for the masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership right now, we see that this is either looking right now at some circumstances or situations that are immediately causing some difficulty or causing some hurdles. But we're seeing that for masculine and feminine right now, and that is partnership. This is that moment that you're effectively like navigating this together. You're navigating this together with a lot of attention in terms of what you value, in terms of what you hold dear, to be able to find that clearer path forward as you proceed forward from this point. This is a point of identification for the energy that is currently in partnership. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership at this moment, this is a time that you are having to look at the partnerships that are currently in your life right now, to really assess if you hold the same values, if you hold the same things that are of importance to you at this time, because there could be something that is being addressed right now as it relates to the partnership energy that may be a moment of identifying some dissimilarity in terms of what is of value to you, what is important, versus energy that feels like it is misaligned in terms of their long-term path and long-term goals. This is where we see a lot of that transformation energy coming to play. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with this devil energy. I'm not surprised to see it. We've had it showing its head over the last few days. This is that point that we find is really valuable and important. Because what did I just say about asking what is being held dear at this time? For masculine and feminine energy that is working in partnership at this time, there could be a lot of conversations in terms of what you feel is productive, what you feel is helping you move forward right now, versus any places or spaces that you may be feeling are limiting you, holding you back. These could be unhealthy coping mechanisms, bad modalities of thought, even unhealed karmic energies at this time. This is that point of valuation and assessment to really ask what feels like it is a productive space in partnership versus anything you may need to identify needs to be released or let go, with a sense of having shared value and protectiveness on what you care about and what you hold dear at this time. This is what the conversations of energy that is in partnership or union right now are having as they navigate this Venus in retrograde cycle. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership right now, this is that moment that can be very, very trying. We've been seeing this coming through for both energies all through this Venus in retrograde cycle. This could even be where some of that tower energy came up. And I did warn a few days ago for some of the energy to be very careful, particularly the masculine energy, not to fall into any spaces or places or allowing yourself to get triggered at this time. Because what we really see is happening at this moment for both the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership is this is a moment that you are going through some very tangible changes. You're working to find a point of flow. You're having a lot of caring and orientation right now and looking at the partnerships around you to really assess if they show that degree and capacity of moving forward towards you at this moment with shared values, shared goals. Or if those energies cannot be corrected, then you're looking them from a space where you might not necessarily be seeing them as healthy or productive or even positive at this moment. And it could even lead to some triggering feelings right now as you move from a state of addressing these. We have to be always careful when we see some of this devil energy to remember that this could identify some triggering circumstances that are currently arising around you at this time. This is saying, though, that one of the reasons that this is currently happening right now is because we see a lot of this transformation energy coming through. And this is that point where it's really important for all of the energies to work on maintaining a point of balance through that period of transformation. And this is helping you build a deeper degree of understanding your own values. What is truly important for you? What is what you need for the building blocks as you go forward from this point? Masculine and feminine energy are holding some things, if you're not in partnership right now, very close to your chest as you go through some of this transformation energy within yourself at this moment. But it's also helping you assess right now, what are those spaces and places that you feel that there is a productive path forward on at this time versus any places or spaces that you feel are limiting, that you feel are confining, that you feel are triggering you or bringing out the worst in you, or not necessarily bringing you into a space that you feel is positive and productive at this moment. This is some of that beautiful transformation energy that we're seeing that's coming through right now. Feminine energy is doing this from a point of deep investigation on their own emotions at this time, while masculine is potentially coming through right now and not necessarily being in a place where they're super communicative on this around this at this moment. Because for the masculine energy, this could be feeling like more of an internal struggle at this time. This is something that the masculine energy is potentially working on, trying to find a way to communicate right now towards a feminine energy, but there could be a lot of care masculine energy is putting right now in what they are expressing or what they're communicating, for fear that they may create further misalignment or that it may be taken in the wrong way. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Four of Pentacles in combination with our Eight of Cups energy. So this is a moment that we really see for both masculine and feminine energy, that there is a deep sense of holding close the things that you truly care about at this moment. Having this be a moment of really recognizing and understanding what you value. For feminine, that point of value has to do with your emotional balance at this time. Feminine energy right now is working very hard to preserve their own sense of emotional balance, even in the state of experiencing a lot of changes at this time. But feminine energy is effectively moving away from anything or anyone that doesn't allow them to preserve this sense of emotional balance for themselves at this moment. For masculine energy right now, this could be feeling like there are things or situations or circumstances that you're having some difficulty articulating around. Masculine energy, you could be feeling like you want to express something at this moment, but you don't necessarily feel like it will be accepted towards feminine energy at this time, or you might not necessarily even feel like there's a good way to be able to say this, or having some caution in terms of what you're trying to communicate at this time. Masculine energy that is not in partnership right now is holding a lot of things to their chest and trying to decide right now what you want to hold on to versus what you're needing to let go of at this time. And this is some of that hangman energy that we're seeing right now for the masculine energy that is not in partnership at this moment, because this is requiring this period of stillness, of self-assessment, as you decide how to conduct yourself forward from this point, what you want to hold on to versus what is feeling like too much of a block or challenge that you're ready to release and move away from at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Judgment in its reversal. This is going to feel a little bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy right now. For the energy that is in partnership, this is more of that assessment in terms of recognizing spaces and places that you feel are productive, that you feel are deep value to you, versus those situations or circumstances that you just want to move away from, that you're feeling or experiencing are too much of a block or a hurdle or a challenge. This is a point of readjustment for the energy that's in partnership at this time. Unified work that you're doing together as you move forward with a unified sense of what is important versus what needs to be released. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership right now, this is going to be more of a challenge, because feminine energy right now is moving with a deep care and consideration towards what you feel is creating this sense of emotional balance for yourself at this moment. Feminine energy that's not in partnership right now has reached this degree of being able to maintain a level of emotional balance, even through the sense of some deep transformations at this time. Feminine energy is allowing this consideration to reframe their own determination fact in terms of what it is that they truly value and need going forward from this time. And it may be taking some moment of recorrection. It may be taking some point of redirection as it relates to your plans and determination points at this time. There's something here that might need to be assessed or changed in the feminine experience. But what we really see here at this moment is feminine is welcoming in this transformation. Feminine is coming into a state of balance, even as they come into a state of an acceptance in terms of some changes that they need to make at this time. While for the masculine energy that is not in partnership right now, this could be feeling like something that you want to change your mind about right now, that there's something here that you are now having a point of reconsideration on. Because what we see here for the masculine energy is there's a point that you're looking back at circumstances and situations. You are potentially even feeling blocked or stuck in those situations from the past. There's something here for the masculine energy that is hard to release or hard to let go of. But we see here that the reason that masculine energy isn't letting go of these circumstances or situations is still feeling like you're getting some sense of deeper insight or deeper understanding in assessing these situations for yourself at this moment, specifically as it relates to your own perception around circumstances or situations. And what's really happening here for the masculine is there's something here that's happening on an internal process, because you might not necessarily be able to communicate this right now to the energy that's connected to those past experiences. That could be that balanced emotional feminine energy that we're seeing here right now. And this is that moment that you are feeling some potential confusion right now in terms of what to do. Hence why we see you standing in this hangman, because we see here that there is a moment or degree where you're trying to assess and understand what it is that you want to hold on to versus what it is that you want to release, but feeling a point of confusion as to the determination point in terms of which direction to go on that path. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Sun card in combination with our Devil card energy. So this is a little tricky. This is some tricky energy that we're seeing here at this moment. And so we have to be very careful, because we're seeing here that there is this moment that we're identifying that it is the recognition of situations or circumstances that feel like they are meant to be intentionally triggering situations or circumstances that are rising up right now. The challenge point in those triggering situations and circumstances is to maintain a positive outlook throughout them. There's almost something that's coming through here that's like you can't necessarily avoid these situations or circumstances that are going to rise up that feel triggering, but bearing in mind that it has entirely everything to do with maintaining a positive mindset through any circumstances or situations that you're currently experiencing are challenging. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Queen of Pentacles in its reversal. You want to know why the feminine is holding some things so close to their chest right now? Feminine is holding things so close to their chest right now because, again, they're working right now with a focus on their emotional balance. This is their focus point right now. This is what the feminine energy is operating under right now. Feminine energy is working right now on not being in a space or place where they're overly reactive. Their emotional composure right now is very important and integral to the feminine energy, because they feel like it is very much about them holding on to the things that they feel are truly important and truly matter to themselves going forward from this point. For feminine and masculine energy right now that is working in partnership, feminine is going through some moment right now that could be circumstantially challenging, is what we're really seeing. Because from practical levels right now, the practical situations around the feminine could be feeling like they are the thing that is triggering or challenging or creating some of that trigger point for the feminine. But what we appreciate right now for feminine energy that's experiencing this is you are trying to maintain an optimistic outlook, even in the face of situations or circumstances that feel triggering. Why? Because there could be a feeling right now that these circumstances and situations are triggering just to get you off your axis, that they're just being presented to you in a way, shape, or form to try to create this sense of imbalance in you. Feminine energy, what's really lovely about this is feminine energy is having a point of recognizing these things as they're externally happening, almost from an objective observational level, so that they can navigate them with a sense of positivity, even while they're feeling some sense of stability that is shaken in the wake of them. For the feminine energy right now that's working in partnership with masculine, this could even be some circumstances and situations that you are working through transformation processes in, but maybe not even at a point for the feminine where you're fully communicating them to the masculine right now, because there could be something about the communication between you and masculine being blocked in this capacity. Feminine energy isn't necessarily letting this affect them so much. They're just kind of dealing with it. You're finding emotional balance even as you experience it for the feminine and masculine energy that are in partnership. While for the feminine energy that is not in partnership, this could be feeling like a big challenge right now, because we see here that you're trying to go with the flow of things right now. You're trying to maintain your own emotional composure in the wake of circumstances that are feeling like they are deeply triggering, but trying to maintain an optimistic outlook even around circumstances and situations that are challenging or triggering your own doubts and fears in your own stability at this time. While for the masculine energy right now, that is currently going through some situations or circumstances and not in partnership right now with feminine, what we're really identifying is there is a moment right now that could be feeling like a point of frustration, because again, what we really see here for the masculine energy is there is this point that you're trying to come into communication right now with an emotionally balanced feminine energy. But for whatever way, shape, or form, you're seeing that there is this bit of a blockage point that you are experiencing around this feminine energy, because the feminine energy is potentially working right now on maintaining a point of emotional stability for themselves at this moment. Feminine energy is putting a lot of care and consideration in the communication that's coming towards them right now to really try to identify and articulate if that energy is positive, optimistic, creating this source of positivity for the feminine at this time, or if the feminine energy feels like the energy coming towards them is potentially harmful, is not necessarily coming from a productive place, is trying to bring them into unhealthy coping mechanisms, bad modalities of thought. Feminine energy is feeling right now that there is something around you coming towards them at this time that you are identifying is creating this moment where the feminine energy may be feeling like they are very emotionally balanced, but they're very, very unstable as to letting you come in towards them at this time, because they are trying to assess what your motivations are in trying to reach them in this capacity and in this degree. Feminine energy is working right now through that point of maintaining their own sense of optimism. But for the masculine right now, it is almost recognizing the fact that the feminine energy is perceiving you in this way at this time that is creating such a hurdle, creating such a challenge, because you don't either feel like this energy is willing to communicate with you at this moment, or they're feeling like the communication that you're trying to bring forth is not necessarily coming from a productive place at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Devil card in combination with our Judgment in its reversal. So for masculine and feminine energy right now, both energies, there's a moment right now of observation of triggering circumstances and situations at this time. I need to warn you guys, whenever we see some of this Devil card coming out to play, be very careful around triggering circumstances right now, triggering situations. Make sure that you're moving from a space of intentionality rather than reactivity, because there's almost a moment that we're seeing that is happening right now that we're observing for both masculine and feminine energy, that there's a point right now of recognizing that some of these points of trigger that come through right now create these points that allow you to have this point of questioning your path, of questioning the alignment that you have at this moment. This is that moment that you're having this point of observation and recognizing that this is occurring. But for both masculine and feminine energy, this is that point of orientation in terms of what to do in the face of recognizing that as you proceed forward from this point. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Seven of Wands in its reversal. What we really appreciate right now is the fact for both masculine and feminine energy right now, this is not necessarily a space or place that you're willing to let yourself get involved in any kind of conflict or difficulty at this time. This is a moment that is coming through, and what we really appreciate this for both masculine and feminine energy is this is the moment that you're not necessarily wanting to go back to situations or circumstances that created any sense of difficulty, any sense of challenge for you at this moment. This is that moment that masculine and feminine energy are looking for the spaces and places that do not create conflict, that allow for a point of easement. For the masculine and feminine energy that is working in union at this time, this is a unified effort. This is a unified point of consideration that you're paying right now towards making some adjustments right now with a concentration on what is not helpful, what causes those difficulties, what causes these triggers, but all for the sake of making things easier as you proceed forward from this point. While for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in partnership, this is going to feel like a bit more of a challenge, because what we really see here for feminine energy, we are seeing feminine energy is working from a space of really working to concentrate their efforts and energies on finding spaces and places that allow them a degree of emotional balance at this time. Feminine energy is working very much to hold things very close to themselves, holding things close to their chest, working on what they feel is of the most priority for themselves at this moment. A lot of concentration on maintaining a lot of presence in terms of their own experience at this time, with a point of trying to overcome any tangible hurdles that they're experiencing. Feminine energy is experiencing some situations or circumstances that they may feel are triggering. But feminine energy is also experiencing the fact that those triggering situations are effectively causing them to question their own motivations. But what we appreciate about this with the feminine energy is committed not to entering into any kind of disputes that they feel like they need to kind of stand and defend themselves, defend their own beliefs, defend their own sense of power. This is that moment where the feminine energy is looking for those paths and spaces that are going to be accepting and opening and helping them build this point of positivity as they proceed forward from this path. While for masculine energy right now, this is that moment that you yourself are also experiencing some of these hurdles, some of these difficulties. There's situations and circumstances around you right now that are feeling deeply challenging. And they're also, again, having this point right now of making you question potentially situations or circumstances, choices that you have made. And we see here for the masculine, what we're really seeing is this is that moment that you may be considering a point of trying to come into something that feels like it is easier. Masculine energy, you're effectively feeling to a certain degree that you're blocked or you're not able to communicate in the way that you would ideally desire at this time, potentially towards a feminine energy that you recognize is at this point of emotional balance. This is what's creating that point of reconsideration right now for the masculine, because you're feeling very triggered and you're trying to effectively potentially try to approach the feminine energy at this time in a way that is not going to create conflict, in a way that is not going to create, it's going to allow for easement. But it can be very challenging, because we also see that the fact is for the masculine energy, one of the reasons that you may not be communicating is because you are feeling so triggered, because you're at a moment that you feel like you are being very triggered and you're very worried that something that you say might not necessarily lead to something that is productive. That's why we see right now, to a certain extent, that the masculine energy is kind of holding right now in a space of uncertainty, allowing yourself to get deeper understanding in difficult situations to try to find that easement in terms of a path forward as you proceed forward from this time. Final card for today's spread between our Queen of Pentacles in combination with our Seven of Wands in its reversal. So while we do see that the feminine energy is moving right now from a space of working to maintain a degree of emotional balance, there are some concerns coming right now up as it relates to feminine's own feeling of stability in this moment. This is a moment right now that is creating a bit of a challenge. Feminine's concerns right now, I need to point out I got to point this out. The Venus in retrograde right now for feminine has been, I got to just stress this. It's not been very much around masculine energy. We have not been seeing a feminine energy that has been putting a lot of care and attention towards a masculine at this time. Feminine energy has been using this Venus in retrograde cycle to put a lot of this care and attention back into their own selves with a deep with a deep amount of concentration. We keep seeing this in the spread around what feels stable, what creates security for the feminine. For the feminine that is not in partnership right now, this has been feminine putting a lot of their investment back into themselves at this moment, potentially because we see the fact that for the feminine energy, there's a lot of potential uncertainty, distrust coming through around what is being communicated from the masculine and whether their intentions are in alignment with the feminine energy. This is how we see this Venus in retrograde cycle really affecting feminine energy at this time. While for feminine energy that is not, and for even for the masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership right now, a lot of the concentration and the conversation could be revolving around some of the insecurities of the feminine energy as it relates to their own feelings of stability. Masculine energy is potentially trying to help and assist to a certain degree in this, though even now we're seeing that masculine energy may be feeling a little bit of uncertainty in terms of how to help in some capacity or degree. While for the masculine energy right now, this is going to feel a bit different because, again, as we just identified, for the masculine energy that is in partnership right now, there is something here where, again, you are seeing right now a feminine energy that is either experiencing some degree or difficulty as it relates to their own stability at this time. And you're just doing everything you can right now to help ease that process for the feminine, to make things as easy as possible for a feminine that's trying to work through this on their own at this time. Well, for the masculine energy that is not in partnership right now, this is a moment that, again, you are feeling some difficulty in coming towards a feminine energy because the feminine energy is, again, they're not necessarily allowing in any communication that they feel is unproductive or not helpful. And feminine energy is in a state right now where they feel like any conflict energy is not something that they want to allow in because the feminine energy feels like it puts them in a point of instability. Hence why the masculine energy, if you're not in partnership right now, you are really putting a lot of care and consideration in terms of what you're communicating to feminine right now, not wanting to create further upset for a feminine that may already be holding you at a bit of a distance at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Two cards coming out to clarify for our bottom of the deck for today, and that is our 10 of Cups in its reversal, but with our Knight of Wands, which is what we love to see, because this is really getting to the heart of the situation or circumstance. As we said, we've seen this card arriving in the last few days. There have been some concerns around the long-term future plans, the long-term future goals, what it is that you're truly working to manifest at this time for both masculine and feminine energy. For masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership, working in union, feminine energy is experiencing some deep concerns potentially right now around some of those long-term plans, right? But what is masculine energy doing in the wake of that? Masculine energy is stepping up. They're using their power to make things easier for the feminine in the present moment and also putting a degree of action right now to help clarify any of the long-term path ahead at this time. While for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in partnership, this is a much different reading because what we're really identifying here, this is where we see some of the difficulties of the Venus in retrograde cycle coming to the forefront. Feminine is in a point where they're working very much on their own emotional stability. They're not looking to bring any conflict, anything that's going to further make them feel like they're at a point of instability at this time. This could even be moving away or walking away from any situations or circumstances that they feel only bring conflict with them, or that they feel that they need to defend themselves, defend their position, defend like their own ego. This is not a space that feminine energy wants to occupy at this time because feminine energy just sees it as something that is destabilizing without any long-term possibility of a future there. Masculine energy that is not in partnership right now and feminine energy is very much committed right now to building this for themselves at this moment if they're not in partnership. Again, just literally holding back any indication of masculine energy that may be causing more difficulty to the feminine at this time. While for masculine energy right now, what we're really seeing is this is very difficult because while we see the fact that there's masculine energy right now that wants to come towards a feminine, there is a blocker there. There's something about this feminine energy, and I will point out that for some of the masculine, this could even be more than one feminine energy that's here. That is either a feminine energy that you recognize is in a point of emotional balance, but is not in a place that they want to communicate with you, and that same energy is at a point that they don't want to necessarily have a conflict point with you because it creates a point of instability. And so your goal right now is trying to clarify to the feminine energy, like that you are not creating a point of disruption, that you're not intending to bring in a point of disruption. that you're trying to work to get back in contact with this energy or trying to get back into alignment with this energy. But for the other part of the masculine energy, this could even be more than one feminine right now that you are experiencing these difficulties or hurdles with. For some of the masculine energy right now, this could even be feeling right now that there's actively a feminine energy that's like affecting your own degree of doing things, trying to work through some situations. These could be some situations or circumstances that you are effectively releasing to a certain extent because you don't see that long-term ability right now for some feminine energy in terms of what you're trying to create for this moment. While at the other time, we're seeing the fact that there's more energy here that you may be trying to move towards right now that doesn't necessarily want to be able to communicate with you in any capacity or degree. So this could be feeling like a bit more of a frustrating energy right now for the masculine, because we're seeing that in the masculine side, that for the energy that is not in partnership, there's a lot of blockages that are happening right now for feminine energy, either experiencing a feminine energy that isn't creating stability for you at this time and you don't see that long-term path with going forward, or recognizing and seeing right now a feminine energy that you want to get into contact with or you want to communicate with, but is also looking at you like you are not able to create that long-term path or goal for them at this time. It's a Venus in retrograde mess is what it really is. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is, of course, communication. Communication, communication, communication. Communication is the solution to the problem. Communication is also the hurdle. It's at the bottom of the deck right now. There's a lot of things that a lot of people want to communicate right now, and nobody knows how to communicate them. Feminine energy is at a point right now, what we're seeing right now, that the feminine energy is either feeling like there's practical blockages right now towards some masculine energy that may be preventing or limiting plans or communication at this moment. Or this could be a feminine energy that's working to overcome any hurdles in their own plans at this time. Masculine energy, you're just experiencing communication blockages today. We see that coming through. We see the fact that you're lending your own confidence to trying to mitigate these situations or circumstances, to try to build that clarity in terms of what the future can look like, both for yourself or the energy that you're trying to get back in communication with. But for some of the masculine energy right now, there's a lot of issues around your own ability to communicate at this time, either towards energy that you feel is not necessarily receptive or blocking you in this point, or feeling like there are actually some like tangible locational or communication hurdles that are happening right now that are making it hard for you to communicate with feminine energy. That is our daily collective read for the day. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video with the option of recording sent to you afterwards. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Also, please keep in mind that if you book a reading with me on my website, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure that you hit both buttons if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please, 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 please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never inbox you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver just to you. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being with me here with me today and sharing in this reading. And we will do this again tomorrow.